And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Situated 75 kilometers southeast of Kitimat, the Kamano generating station was completed in 1954, providing hydroelectricity for Alcan's Kitimat aluminum smelter. The 428-meter cavern was carved inside the base of Mount Du Bois to house the power plant. It was the largest producer in the province when it was built and is now the fifth largest electrical plant in British Columbia. On today's Open Connection, we open our archives to bring you this story from 2000.
Located in the beautiful remote Kamano Valley, the village of Kamano was built by Alcan in 1954. The company was given the right by the province to produce hydroelectric power by using water from nearby rivers. A transmission line crosses the 1,500-meter high Kildala Pass, and it carries the electricity 82 kilometers to Kitimat. But in May of 1999, Alcan announced they would save a projected $13 million in operating costs by shutting down the community at the end of July. And while financially it made sense, as the days counted down, reality set in for the Kamano residents.
End of an era, what can I say? I don't know. I try not to think about it in detail, otherwise it can get depressing.
It's just sad. I've been so busy at the moment that I haven't let it hit me yet, I guess. But certain things happening, you just say, oh, it's such a sad event happening.
It's sad to leave behind everything that was and to think that everything you built and everything you worked for here is gone.
There will always be a power plant, but it's no longer possible for the public to visit this picturesque isolated town site by boat or helicopter. Since August 1st, only a camp situation exists at Kamano. There are two crews consisting of 20 Alcan workers each, rotating in and out of Kamano for about a week at a time.
The beautiful scenery. I mean, people pay a lot of money for scenery like this. But, it's a shame that other people couldn't see it. However, that's the way it is.
I've been coming in here since the early 80s, and I've seen the changes in here. It's got to be a very, very nice place compared to what it was. I mean, there's a lot of new things here that weren't here when I first started coming in. The apartment buildings weren't here, the little shopping mall, the sports complex, none of that was here when I first come in. So it's sad to see it so finished off, I guess is a good word for it, and then all of a sudden it's not going to be utilized anymore.
It's been a long, hard year for a lot of people, and of course we're not always able to please everybody all the time. So we're doing the best we can, and we think so far that we're getting there.
For many, life in Kamano was desirable, a combination of wilderness lifestyle with conveniences at hand. It was a community that had modern recreational facilities with a population of about 250. And of course, the spectacular views and beautiful scenery were at their doorstep.
Reality is that at some point in time, taking grandkids back to this part of our life won't be possible. You won't be able to come back to the place where we once lived in this valley. And that's something that I'm sure we'll all miss at some point in time in our lives.
The community of Kamano has dealt with a shutdown before. Back in 1991, Alcan suspended work at the Kamano Completion Project as a result of a legal challenge from environmental and Aboriginal groups. KCP was to provide for the eventual expansion of its aluminum production capacity in British Columbia, but that shutdown sent 1,000 construction workers packing. But this time around, the shutdown was different. It affected everyone, but it also gave the residents a chance to reflect on this unique community.
Right from the very earliest days, people came here and volunteered and made all the activities that everybody has enjoyed happen. Potluck suppers and sort of impromptu campfires.
There was a group called the Secret Sisters, and every once in a while you'd find a bottle of wine one of the wives would find a bottle of wine on the doorstep with a happy birthday card or a gift or something like that would happen. And it's that kind of selfless willingness to make things happen, to make your neighbors' lives better and your co-workers' lives better, that really is what made this place what it was all about.
While the volunteers were the glue of the community, the heart of Kamano was Lord Alexander Elementary School. On the final day of classes this past June, everyone signed their name on the outside of the walls. And days after school was out, students and staff continued to come back to the building that gave them comfort.
Well, for me it was really upsetting because I've really liked it here, and it was the best place I've ever lived. And the teachers were really nice, so it was really sad.
I'm always going to know that I was here. I'm just very lucky to have had that chance to live in such a great place where everyone is friendly, everyone knows each other.
You always knew before you could come back.
Thank you to all of the students in Lord Alexander School for all of the years, certainly those that my wife and I and children have been involved in from '83 on. We keep in touch with an awful lot of them, and wonderful kids, wonderful supportive parents. Last message would be what a great legacy they've left here.
At the end of July, the final voyage for the last of the permanent Kamano residents was an emotional scene. It was a ride that the final passengers will never forget.
I'm thinking about all the friendships and the special people that I've known in Kamano. And I'm thinking about the beautiful scenery in Kamano and the community. And it's a special part of my life that I will treasure forever. And I'll miss terribly.
Well, it was sad to say goodbye to everyone, but also there was a sense of excitement that I could feel from everybody moving on. It's been a long year for everybody, and I think it was time for everyone to leave now.
Kind of a sad day, but a day with a lot of really great memories that we have of our time in that community.
The trip was wonderful. It was very sentimental. We had some champagne and orange juice this morning to celebrate our departure, and there were a few tears, a lot of laughs. And it's the end of a chapter, the final chapter.
There's another page in the legacy of Kamano. A proposal is in the works to set fire to the buildings and use it as a training opportunity for firefighters around the province.
It's in keeping with learning. It's a learning institution, and if life is saved or forensics is improved in some manner, fabulous.
The firemen too often get there too late and don't get to learn what fire causes were. So there'll be fire investigation, fire suppression, all kinds of training for the firemen there.
It took moving vans months to move families out of the community, and while many former Kamano residents have relocated in Kitimat area and remain employees of Alcan, others decided to move on. But regardless of their decision, they will always share a common bond. It's a bond that will forever link them to this picturesque town site named Kamano.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
For staying with us, an invasive species is an organism that is not indigenous or native to a particular area. Many invasive species are introduced to a new region accidentally. Zebra mussels are native to the Black and Caspian Sea in Central Asia. Zebra mussels arrived to the Great Lakes of North America accidentally, stuck to large ships that travel between the two regions. Let us return to the archives to bring you this story from 2000.
For 4 years, these people have been trying to rid this lake of a choking weed. It's called Canadian lakeweed, or Alodia canadensis. And before the Protection Society was formed in 1994, no one could swim, fish, or go boating in these waters.
It first appeared in the lake about 1992. We think probably the conditions were just optimal for its growth, and it spread very rapidly, so that by 1994 the whole lake was encircled by Alodia. There were huge weed mats, and it was impossible to boat or swim in the lake. Those weed mats extended for 400 yards out all around the lake, and there was really simply a circle of clear water in the middle of the lake. Shorebirds, mudflat type birds had moved onto the lake. There were small crustaceans in the weed. The water that many people were getting from the lake was black, and there were small animals and birds and fish dying in the weed.
Allison Candela and almost 24 Lake Kathleen residents have been working tirelessly to preserve this lake, and it's not nearly as easy as it sounds. When they decided to undertake the project, they were facing some tough battles. First, they had to raise the money for the machine to harvest the weeds. Then they had to convince the regional district they would be able to maintain the equipment and find money for costly repairs the equipment would need. Finally, they had to work out a schedule of volunteers who would operate the boat and would have the time to harvest the weeds and dump them far away from the lake. And since they began their monumental task, the lake has been rejuvenated thanks to their efforts. Each year in August and September, they take their huge harvester out onto the lake to gather load after load of weeds. The process is an involved one at best.
And then when we have a full load, the harvester comes in, turns around, and the back conveyor belt unloads the weed onto the truck.
So far, the volunteers have taken out 2,000 dump truck loads from the lake since they began cleaning it up. After it's gathered, it ends up here, with hundreds of other piles decomposing and fertilizing local farmers' fields. And despite the sometimes back-breaking work, this year they feel they're starting to make a difference.
It looks as if we've made progress. I don't want to be unduly optimistic, but the lake certainly is usable. A lot of people are boating and swimming and fishing and kayaking and using the lake in all sorts of ways. There's a lot of wildlife on the lake. There are no more animals dying in the weed, and there's a beautiful reflection and lots of wave action.
But it doesn't end there. To ensure the weeds don't take control of the waters again, they need to make sure that a fresh supply of water will run into the lake to keep the temperatures down and phosphate levels to a minimum.
Well, this is the water. We have a license 14 cubic feet per second from Glacier Gulch, from the glacier as it melts, to go into Lake Kathleen. And there is a structure a little higher where the creek separates, and part of the water comes down through a culvert and to a maximum of 14 cubic feet per second. We have this water going into Lake Kathleen, and the purpose of that is to flush the phosphate out of the lake and hopefully slow down the weed growth.
And to guarantee the water actually gets to the lake, local resident Ralphina Schimmel also travels several times a week to the creek to make sure the grate where the water diverges into a culvert remains free of debris.
When we have a downpour, so then quite often the grate gets plugged with twigs, and then the grate fills up and nothing comes through to the main pipe into the lake. So it has to be checked on a daily basis. It's very important that we get our water in our lake.
Because it costs thousands for this kind of maintenance, the group applies regularly for government assistance. Local residents and property owners also pay about $200 a year in taxes, which goes for equipment maintenance. This year, they've been lucky. The group has received $10,000 towards their cleanup efforts from both the BC government and Shell Environmental Funds. Even so, Allison estimates this year's expenses will run more than $13,000. Even though the volunteers will likely have to keep up the work for several more years, they say as long as the weeds are there, everyone in the community will help keep the lake clean.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. The Canadian Department of National Defence built the Terrace Airport in 1943 as part of the defense network to defend the coast from hostile invasion and as part of an airport system used to ferry American aircraft to Alaska. The airport transferred to the Department of Transport in 1946. Let us return to the archives to bring you this story from 2000.
Things didn't look very positive for air travel in and out of our area as the year 2000 started. We had just come off one of the worst Christmas seasons for weather in years, and then the news Air BC was pulling out. One local group that didn't want to see the airport lost and saw a significant hole in the market was Hawk Air Aviation. Known most for its unique planes, Hawk Air had been flying cargo in the Northwest for years. Most of its business surrounded the mining industry, which meant for the past few years, it hadn't had much business. Well, about the time everyone else was looking to see when the end of air travel in our area would be, Hawk Air was setting the wheels in motion to establish a passenger service just for the Northwest.
We're planning on getting ourselves a Dash 8 100, which is a 37-seat turboprop, and running a scheduled service twice a day to Vancouver, starting hopefully in July sometime.
Hawk Air's plan was to purchase a 37-seat Dash 8-100. All it had to do was come up with $6 million. Well, it wasn't quite that easy. After months of trying to raise the capital, the company finally decided to lease a plane. And that wasn't that easy either. Then, after months of trying, IMP of Halifax finally said yes.
It has been an incredible struggle to get this project this far. Yeah, it's a big day, but we've got bigger days coming.
Not only bigger days, but bigger headaches. After almost 2 more months, including an almost complete retrofit of the plane they were to lease, Hawk Air's Dash 8 finally arrived in Terrace.
Many times we wonder if it ever happened, but here it is.
The plane has 2 brand new engines, and at just 10 years old, it's the newest commercial airliner servicing Terrace-Kitimat. It was still hard to believe, though, this little cargo company of 4 employees was going to challenge the giant of Air Canada.
What we have done is we've listened to what people in this area have wanted, and we've tried to develop a plan that's going to look after what they want. And the monopoly can do whatever they want. They can respond however they want to respond. We're just going to do our thing, and hopefully we'll be able to have a good cooperative relationship rather than trying to destroy each other. We're certainly not going to destroy them.
Destroy them? No, but cut into their business in Terrace? Definitely. Hawk Air did what it said it would do. It cut prices. It cut Canadians' lowest fare by 36% and its top ticket by 41%. Canadians' response came less than a week before Hawk Air's first flight. Its short-term seat sale cut prices to just over $300. The Northwest had some competition. Then the big day, September 8, 2000, Hawk Air's first flight from Terrace to Vancouver.
Hawk Air Flight 1 leaves in less than an hour. Tell me what's going through your mind now.
I'm glad I've got the help that I've got. That's what's going through my mind right now. We've got an excellent, highly experienced crew on the aircraft, and that's one thing that I don't have to worry about. I can try to keep things going smoothly out here, which we know on the very first day we're going to run into hiccups, but at least I don't have to worry about the guys in the aircraft.
That's right, Menzies, Hayward, and Hawkins didn't have to do everything anymore. Their staff had grown from 4 to 23, but the hurdles were definitely not behind them.
You know, we got our certification to do this yesterday at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's a colossal achievement. It really is. You have these accomplishments, and then we never think, boy, we got that done. Now it's okay, fine, that's over. Now what do we got to do next? And what do we got to do after that? You know, it just never ends.
This company had come a long way in a very short time. A year earlier, it was flying reindeer from the Aleutian Islands. Now it was paying passengers.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Developed during the Second World War, the Bristol Type 170 freighter is a British twin-engine aircraft that served both as freighter and airliner. It was the first airplane owned by Hawk Air, and in 2004, the plane took off for its last flight to an air museum in Alberta. In this final segment on Open Connection, we begin with an announcement from a flight attendant.
I'm pleased to welcome you aboard Hawk Air Flight number 1, destination Vancouver. Our flying time today will be approximately 1 hour, 49 minutes at altitudes of up to 25,000 feet.
And with that, Hawk Air Flight 1 was in the air, destination Vancouver International Airport, South Terminal.
We didn't make the 8 o'clock departure. That resulted in us running into a traffic conflict with some courier traffic inbound. So that's one of the things that we're going to learn on the first flight, and how important it is to make the on-time departure.
This wasn't your ordinary passenger load. Hawk Air had invited along many civic and business leaders to share in its big day. They were all impressed with the service.
Well, it's a very exciting service. It's a comfortable airliner. The challenges and hurdles that Hawk Air have overcome to get the service going have been immense, and I really give them a lot of credit.
In fact, we think that this is one big step towards us having a Northwest Regional Airport, and Terrace being the designation of such a service.
Excellent and smooth. So far it's been a great flight, and a true joy to fly on a sort of a locally owned independent carrier. I think it's a real credit to the owners of Hawk Air, but I think it'll be, in the long term, it'll be a real credit to the community also.
In particular to survive and flourish. And while Terrace Councillor Hull wasn't making any commitments, Kitimat's Bob Corliss was.
Oh, of course. We always try to keep our business local.
After 1 hour and 31 minutes in the air, the plane landed in Vancouver and the ceremony started.
Today's a tremendous day, a great success for Hawk Air, and a real boom and a pleasure for all the residents of the Northwest. On behalf of the people of the Northwest, Terrace, Kitimat, Prince Rupert, Smithers, the Hazeltons, we wish Hawk Air the very best, and with this ribbon cutting, we'll officially call the Hawk Air service flying into the north.
The South Terminal welcomed Hawk Air with open arms. The newly renovated building is home to many small carriers filling a void giant airlines can't be bothered to fill. Pacific Coastal Airlines is the largest airline using the South Terminal. It's been servicing small coastal routes for 13 years.
We try to focus on the local markets, and I know that Hawk Air is doing the same in Terrace, and if they can win that, then that's a good start for them.
Pacific Coastal has been both a partner and competitor of the monopoly. It knows what it takes to survive.
They're going to have to be reliable. Number one, people are going to have to be able to depend to be able to pick up that phone, depend on picking up that phone and ensuring that flight's going to go when they say it's going to go.
This time we left as scheduled, arriving back in Terrace just over an hour and a half later. Hawk Air was now a reality. The Northwest now had what it didn't 9 months earlier, sufficient services. Travelers are benefiting, but how about Hawk Air?
Everything is going really well. We're having a wonderful support from the Terrace Kitimat area and surrounding area. We're selling lots of tickets. We're selling lots of tickets for Christmas, and then even right the way through until May of next year.
Problem solved. Well, not exactly. It's still early and Hawk Air has had a few problems.
The notice no company wants to see. Locally based Hawk Air Aviation Services went into bankruptcy on November 18th, ending a 16-year run of passenger service.
I think Hawk Air has been struggling. They realized that they could not continue, and they didn't see any reason to believe that the economic circumstances would improve in the short term.
Law says his firm is the trustee in bankruptcy for Hawk Air. Sister company Central Mountain Air absorbed the airline before canceling the run of direct flights from Terrace to Vancouver on October 1st due to poor numbers. Terrace Kitimat Airport confirmed they are owed a sum of money from the airline, but wouldn't say how much. With the added flights from WestJet and Air Canada, Hawk Air began spiraling out of control.
Definitely the added seat capacity hurt, particularly, for instance, the wind down of the Alcan completion.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind to his heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.